Okay, hold on one second. All right. So I'm going to go over the 28-day period. So it's basically, as far as the murder rate is 0-0, so there's no change. So we've gone up from 1 to 3 as far as rapes. We've gone down from robberies from 12 to 9. Felony assaults have gone down from 16 to 13. Burglary has gone up from 7 to 8. Grand larcenies have gone up from 48 to 55. And grand larcenies autos have gone up from 18 to 28. I'm sure, as you know, we've had an increase pretty much overall, just like the rest of the city has, been trending in the upward direction over the last year or two, especially over the last year. We're also kind of spread thin because we have less officers and we have more tasks. So I know that there's a lot of people who have reached out to us in regards to different concerns, like Stephanie Ehrlich has reached out to me in regards to a couple of robberies that happened in the park. Matt Abrams has reached out to me in regards to the synagogue situations. If you guys are unaware of that, there were a couple of synagogues that received hate mail, basically had swastikas and a bunch of slurs on the letter. That was referred to hate crimes task force. So they're looking into it. It's an open investigation at the moment. It's a pattern that's gone through not just the city, but out in New Jersey. I'm sure you guys have heard that there was a scare out there. Also with the schools, that's another concern that we're having because we had a school safety agent discover a firearm at one of the schools in our area. So there was an arrest made for that. We've also had, some shootings, stabbings. We've had a lot of stuff happening all at once. So I might not be able to give you all the details of every specific thing that has been going on, but we've definitely been trying our best to address every issue, including the noise complaints that we just got recently regarding that location that was on Riverdale. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I was just talking about it today. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm here and I'll do my best to answer them as best as I can.
Thanks a lot, Cesar. I got a few complaints that I want to go over, but I want to ask the committee first if the committee has any questions for the 50th precinct on.
Yeah.
Bob, go ahead.
So thank you, Officer Sala. I know that you've been in touch with Matt Gerber. The letter actually originated initially on City Island. It happened about approximately a week ago. Again, the hate crimes was brought in. The local precinct was brought in. The Jewish Community Relations Council, whom I'm the executive director, has something called CSI, which is our Community Security Initiative, which is a very robust initiative that deals with these kinds of issues around houses of worship. They were brought in. The FBI has been involved, and others. There's a joint task force involved in this. I know that it is under investigation right now, and we're hoping for an arrest in the near future. However, when you were made aware of this, who reached out to who? Because it's my understanding that that the community, which has a history of some violent anti-Semitic acts in the past, just at the beginning of COVID, a number of years ago, there was several acts, is quite nervous about these kinds of things. And there was also a feeling that during the high holy holidays that there was a lack of attention to the house of worship patrols as well. I understand that everyone is pressed, everyone has issues. However, when something like this happens with a community that has a history, and it could predicate something worse than receiving a letter, and as you saw, the letters are very disturbing, with swastikas, official sign of the Nazi Party, attacks against not only Jews, but Muslims, the Black community, and the LGBTQ community as well. What are the plans for beefing up the connectivity between houses of worship that have now become targets, not only in the Jewish community, but many communities across certainly the United States and New York City, and the local precinct, and making sure that, particularly on holidays, no matter what the faith group is, that there is a proper attention towards house of worship patrols. I know that we received assurances from 1PP that there would be such patrols, and again, there was a feeling that there was a lacking. So I'd just like to know, I understand that you're going through some, management change, the captain, and however, this is a quasi crisis in the minds of many in the community, and I think that one of the first steps is to assure the community on public safety issues.
Well, obviously that you're covering a large spectrum of things, so I'm going to try my best to address it. That is the borough. Hopefully that's not important. So, okay. As far as the high holidays are concerned, I spoke to everybody personally myself, each of the synagogues, to get the schedule as I do each year, to try our best to have the information that we need to have the cars that we usually would send around. We have what we call a HOW auto, which is designated just for that reason, just to stop by all the synagogues and make sure everything is, A-okay. And they go to all the, actually they go to every religious institution to check up to make sure they're okay. At this point, if I'm not mistaken, we have, I think, 13 institutions that are Jewish related. So what ends up happening, unfortunately, is that if that car is going from place to place. So in the past, just to backtrack, just as you said before, there have been issues in the past with threats and crimes happening, hate related, right? So we had a guy that was throwing rocks at the synagogues and breaking windows, and he went to several synagogues and created a pattern. So that garnered a lot of attention. So One Police Plaza and the department itself decided to deploy extra vehicles and extra personnel out to the synagogues to make sure that we had it as locked down as possible, safety wise, right? Obviously, that's not something that's going to happen every day. That's one of those things where it's way above my pay grade. We do what we can on the command level. We don't have the manpower to cover every single building, every single block, the way it might have been done for specific incidents. Now, going back up to what's happening now, we had one car that was designated to all the religious institutions for the high holidays, and I can't say what they did because I'm not riding with them, but I know that they have gone to specific locations, and we have it documented, and I'm sure they have cameras at the institutions showing them being there. Were they there for every hour throughout every single day? No, of course not, because that would be impossible to do, right? I know I've gone myself when I can. Unfortunately, like I said, we have less people doing more tasks, so that does influence how much you're going to see us around. And if there's a priority, if there's somebody, if there's something really bad happening somewhere and there's no cars left to go, then that auto that might be designated to the synagogues might have to reroute and respond to something that's happening somewhere else. So I'm sure that must have happened at least once or twice along, throughout the high holy days. So, if you're at one particular synagogue, right, and you're waiting on that one car to come by, you could be sitting around for a few hours and not see a car. I mean, that's very possible. Again, I can't speak for what the car was doing at that particular moment, but I know that we do have a list of all the synagogues and the times that where people are frequenting the institutions, and the plan is to try to help as best as we can, but obviously we're not personal security. We're not going to be there 24 hours a day just sitting in front of the synagogue waiting for something to happen. If we could, and if we had the manpower, I'm sure we would, but that's just not a realistic idea. And I know that because of stuff that has happened in the past where they've seen a lot of cars around, I know sometimes people are under the impression that that's something that we're capable of doing every single day. And that's just not true. But again, when we get our new commanding officer, or when the executive officer, Captain Ozuna comes in, she could probably give you a little more insight on what the higher ups do when it's required. And everybody has my information. I've spoken to Matt several times about all the things that are going on. You guys can call me. My wife gets upset with me. I pick up the phone at home, but I do. I don't always pick it up every single time, because there are times where I have to put it to the side to take care of some stuff at home. But, I will get back to whoever it is that reaches out to me as soon as I can. So the good news is that they have sent out extra vehicles because of what's going on with the synagogues. So we do have a few cars that are not from the 50th precinct going to certain synagogues, the most populated ones. They're not going to be at every synagogue, and they're not going to be covering 24 hours a day, but we do have extra personnel coming down to try to help out and alleviate the situation.
Right. So I really appreciate the difficulty in taking care of these issues. We would love to be advocates with the 5-0 to reach out to 1PP. We do have some ability to do that, whether it's to Chief Madry himself or others in Richie Taylor, in the various different offices there. We'd be more than willing to help that, because the issue is that there's a lot of people who are quite nervous in the community because of everything that's going on. It's not just the letters, it's heightened attention because of the announcement that was made last week or the week before, or what's happening in the news, or other kinds of issues. And again, it's not just Jewish houses of worship, it's every house of worship.
Yeah.
And this is something that we actually run the New York Coalition on House of Worship Security, and it's something that we're going to bring to the mayor's attention as well. So any way we can be of assistance to the 5-0 in assuring that additional resources can be made available, and at the same time, when these kinds of issues crop up, I think it would be important to do a briefing with leadership in the community so that people are aware of what the local precinct is involved in, what their capacity is, and to sort of allay some of the fears that crop up. Many of the synagogues in the area, I think all of them, do hire private services. There are also a volunteer service called CSS in most of the synagogues as well. And just a better coordination between the local precinct and the work that's happening in the community. Matt is relatively new, as you know, in this position. We've been advising him on this. So again, any way we can be helpful in this process, let us know.
Thank you, Bob. Before I take the next hand, I know there was a pretty major incident with a robbery up at Rite Aid. If any of these questions are related to that, please hold off until a new business segment, because that's when we're going to kind of discuss it in depth as far as organized crime. So Scott, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Officer Sally, I just had a question about the firearm at the school. Do you know what school it was?
I think it was JFK. I know
It was JFK, and it was a student who was arrested.
It was a
Yes.
student? No, it was at the magnetometers? Is that what happened?
they went through the metal detector and it went off.
Okay, and is the student, do you know where they are in the process right now?
No, don't. That's already out of our hands.
All right, okay, thanks.
Okay, does anybody else from the committee have any other questions for Cesar? Okay, I had a couple of things that came to me. One complaint was for possible illegal vending at 3648 Bailey Avenue. Caesar, I don't know if you heard anything about this, but the complaint was that there's an individual at 3648 Bailey that set up a marijuana shop underneath the scaffolding. And I don't even know, to be honest, if this is legal or illegal at this point. But if it is legal, it certainly seems like it could be some type of vending violation. So I don't know if you've heard anything about this or have any information about that.
Was this, I'm sorry, was this by 238 and Bailey over there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, I know. I spoke to a few people about that. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, because my NCO sergeant is messaging me in regards to something similar. So, all right. Long story short, we have heard about that. I can't say that there's been anything done in regards to that specifically, because when I've gone around, there were a group of people there, but they weren't doing anything at that moment. So we have heard that there's like a group of people hanging underneath that green awning thing. Let me just let them know I'm on a meeting. Okay. And so we are going to look into it. You know, the NCOs do know about it. Gervin heard about it when he was still here. I haven't spoken to Captain Ozuna about it, being that there's been so many different things going on at the same time. And I spoke to, I believe, one of the establishments that's under, that you're going to bring up today about it, the owner of it, of Calle, where is it? Is it, yeah, Calle Bar and Grill, the owner of Calle Bar and Grill. They mentioned it also because I think they were worried that people were going to associate what's going on with that corner to them, you know. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's the case, that people will be like, oh, when we look up the jobs and we say, oh, something happened and it happened to be in front of their establishment, they might not have anything to do with it. And from what I saw, and I did pass by a few times, the group that tends to hang out over there doesn't seem to have any relation to them at all, if that is a concern.
Do we know if this is legal though? Do we know if it's legal?
Well, it's not legal to, I mean, obviously that's not really something that information wise that we would have, but as far as I know, first of all, you have to have a vending license to sell, right? I mean, that's just a basic thing, but also marijuana in particular has its own separate guidelines, right? So we've discussed this before. A lot of times people would set up like a whole thing and say that they're giving stuff away, and then people give like a donation, and that's their way of getting around it, right? I can't say I questioned anybody there about that, because I didn't see anything like that happening when I went by, and I've only gone by a couple of times. I can't say I've been there every day, and I have seen a group there, but they didn't have anything out that I saw.
Okay, you mentioned the noise. So recently we've gotten complaints about loud noise. And I mean, I have various complaints. One of them is from a person from 4705 Henry Hudson Parkway. People are saying they're hearing noises, loud noises until 3 or 4 a.m. and they're not really sure where it's coming from. So it's going through the Spuyten Duyvil, Kingsbridge area, all the way down to Inwood Park. And people are saying it's driving them nuts, and it's coming through their windows. Do we have any idea where this noise is coming from and who's blasting the music? And because I've gotten a lot of complaints. It seems like it's just really being amplified and spreading out, and a lot of people kind of spread out are hearing this very late at night.
We don't know where it's coming from. We know that, because I'm just looking at one of the most recent emails I got from you guys. So, all right. So basically, I know that Legacy Studio was a place that we looked into before. Apparently, it sounds like they might have had something going on this past weekend. When I looked up the jobs, we only got two calls in regards, but one of them was not noise related. So I think it was more of an illegal parking situation for the first one, and that was earlier in the day. The second one was the noise complaint, which was later in the night, but it was about 10:30 at night. So there
Caesar,
were,
I heard they're closed down as of today. I got emails today saying they're closed down and the owner has put a padlock on the thing, so they're done, as far as I can tell.
I got the same message. So as far as I know, that is the case. And I haven't heard anything since that happened a couple months ago. So it might not be them. It might be somebody that was just out there and people think it's them. I don't know. Again, I wasn't there, and it was a one-time incident. So hopefully that's not something that continues. At this point, that's all it is right now. But our NCOs do know about it. I messaged them about it, so they are going to look into it and see if there's anything else going on. If it does continue, if you know anyone that, like, if you have the information of the people that have called, they could always reach out to us directly, and obviously utilize the 311 system. From what I'm looking at, there was only one call made, so hopefully it's not as bad as it sounds at the moment.
Okay, I'm sure the board will pass that information on to you, because I know we have gotten quite a few calls about the same, it seems like the same people who are making the noise we're getting the complaints about, but nobody really can identify where it's coming from.
Okay.
Also, I just wanted to bring up catalytic converters too, because one of our board members brought this to our attention, that there was NYPD had some type of an event where they were registering catalytic converters in the Bronx to help combat the catalytic converter theft, which is out of control. But I was under the impression that they're not stealing them to resell them. They're stealing them for the precious metals inside. So do you think what's going on with this? Can you tell me what's going on with that? Do you think this is going to be effective, or what? Registering catalytic converters, because aren't they just basically ripping them apart and taking the metals out? Who's gonna,
I guess all right, so I would say it definitely would help. Is it going to have a big impact? That's hard to say. There's no way to know what each individual is going to do when they take them, right? So this is a step, I would say, in the right direction, just for the fact that something is being done, right? So you're hoping that it'll be deterrent and might maybe influence some of it. So even if, let's say, half of the cases lead to an arrest or lead to something that's helpful, that's still better than nothing. At this point, you're probably right. I'm sure a lot of them are selling it for scraps, but for the ones that are not, they're going to get caught eventually down the road, which is what happens with a lot of GLAs, even though people don't realize that we do make a lot of arrests for things of that nature. Where we do follow serial numbers, as silly as it may feel like when you're, putting a serial number on a bicycle or something like that, a lot of times these things do end up popping up somewhere. We're able to make some of those arrests.
Okay, and the last one I'll bring up, because it was brought to my attention that there's cars double parking parking in no standing zones, blocking crosswalks up on Orloff and Gale Place. So I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but that was one of the complaints too, that there's people in no standing zones blocking crosswalks up in.
Would you happen to have a time frame on that?
We got the complaint on November 10th, and the guy even sent a picture. November 10th.
Okay.
But he says it happens regularly, but this is when we happen to get that particular complaint.
But there's no time frame of between noon and 3, they're usually there or something like that, or business hours or something like that.
That I can't tell you. I do see a picture of a car parked in a crosswalk though, but.
Well, I mean, we never know when that happens. So if anything, I'm not sure if you sent that one to me. I'm sure you probably did, but let me see. So
I'll ask the board. I'll ask one of our staff at the board.
Yeah, if anything, I'll notify our highway safety officers in regards, and they'll stop by. If we can if we could lock down a specific time frame, then they'll know they should pop by around that time, because I'm sure that's not 24 hours a day. And if it is, even better as far as trying to find them. And
it was taken in the daylight. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, okay. Well, either way, I'll pass the word along and, they'll take a look. Obviously, if they don't see anything, then there's not much they can do about it. But if it happens at specific times, then that would help.
Caesar, thanks. Is there anybody here from the fire department from FDNY? Okay, so I was hoping somebody
Yeah,
from the fire.
Greg Lair, Battalion 7.
Hey, Greg. How are you?
Good.
I'm glad you're here. So, because besides your report, we have something to ask you. I have something to ask you actually about this battery fire epidemic. And I know that there was just a rally. Was it today? I believe it was today. By some advocates in response to the fire epidemic. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I didn't hear anything about the rally, but when I was at your last meeting, I had mentioned that the battery fires have been an ongoing problem for us. They're increasing in frequency, and to be honest, all the mobility devices, they're in every apartment, they're in every house. I see you have a number of people here, which I failed to mention last time, who are here with the from restaurants for the that part of your responsibilities, and every one of those probably has a delivery guy who rides an e-bike. We've lost bicycle stores in the last couple of years. Obviously, numerous high-profile apartment fires and house fires, and businesses that we've lost based on these fires. As an aside, if I could, at some point, we should have an offline conversation just to get your contact info. I'll be the new contact from Battalion 27 to Community Board 8, just retired. So I have a video which I would share with you from Underwriters Laboratories. They do a test which shows how the batteries failed, the rapidity with which the fires are considered explosive chemical reaction. And I think it would be helpful for you to see it, just so you see how quick this occurs. It occurs without warning, and they're typically stored in an apartment at your egress. As soon as you come in, they're charging right there, and they wind up cutting off the egress. So they're everywhere. They're not going away. So it is something that I just need to make people aware of. Even if you can take small safety measures of putting them in places that are a little safer.
How long is the video, Greg?
It's a 2-minute video. The first minute of it, you probably wouldn't notice anything. There's a setup of cameras from UL of various rooms. They have a house that they've mocked up for fire purposes, and one's a thermal camera, so you can just sort of see the heat build up. At about the 1-minute mark, you'll see it take off, and when it takes off, it's over. The thermal runaway is so fast. Your ability to exit is extremely limited.
Maybe we can set that up for our next meeting if we can do that, if we're doing a Zoom, I think, or whatever.
I can share it with you, and then perhaps you can show it. You'll view it first and see if it's appropriate for your purposes. But was there anything else in regards to that, or?
No, just I mean, I did get a few statistics for structure fires, non-structure, anything. If you had any information like that offhand.
So the department is in the process of revamping, changing the software for the statistics on the community board level. It's close. I think it's in a pilot right now. So Rich had access to it. I did not. So he sent me a copy of it. If I can also send you the spreadsheet on the community board 8 in comparison with the Bronx and citywide. But the basics gist of it is structural fires for October of this year were 28 in community board 8. That's a 7.7% increase. But to give some context to that, the Bronx overall had an 11.8% increase at 493, and citywide we were at a 9.5% increase in structural fires at 2,107 for the month of October over last year's October. Medical calls, slight increase, 315 in community board 8, a 4.3% increase, and that is in line with what's occurred in the Bronx and citywide on increase.
Great, thanks a lot. So does anybody have any questions for FDNY or Greg? I see a hand, Scott Krompinger. Scott.
Just real quick, Ed. Is there ever a circumstance where you recommend keeping like a lithium ion micro mobility device, like a scooter, indoors? Like, is that ever safe, would you say?
Yeah, I don't want to get into, like, there are some things that, these are new, fairly new in terms of their widespread use. So, what's appropriate for you may be different based on your circumstances, how your house lays out or your apartment. But generally speaking, my personal opinion, I would not have it inside. I would have a separate storage area, which is outdoors, which in the event that one of these things takes off, the effects are limited and confined to a specific area that doesn't put a larger population at risk. But right now they are in every apartment, and any apartment we go into, whether they are the initiator of the fire or they are just simply there as part of the combustibles, and when they when they are impacted by fire, they add to that fuel load in a very serious way. Like I said, there are numerous videos throughout YouTube, which we can view, but I think the Underground Laboratory one, that's 2-minute video, gives you a really good picture of how quickly it takes off when it goes, and how quickly that fire spreads from room to room within the house. It's a good sort of overall picture. Like I said, the first minute of it, is really just, the thermal camera is probably the only thing you'll pick up, but at that 1-minute mark, and what they do is a purposeful overcharge of the device in order to mimic what's going on in the failure of the battery itself. But that's not the only way that they fail. In the last few months, I have gone to a junkyard on exterior numerous times for electric vehicles, which are going on fire, large piles of metals that are burning. I've gone to a sanitation truck, which had to unload its load into the street because lithium batteries were in the load. And then obviously, some of the fires that are going on in the houses and apartments, and some high profile ones of late, but it's an ongoing issue. I know the council was looking at it recently and trying to gather information on what to do moving forward.
David Gelman, you have a question for FDNY?
Yes, another step beyond what Scott was talking about. I think that there's really a need for not just what the city council is considering, but general advice. I mean, for example, in my building, I don't know of anybody who has an e-bike in their apartment, but I do know a fellow who has one in our storage room, which is, they're metal containers, but there's still things that could burn. And then we have a garage, neither of which have sprinklers. So I wouldn't even know what to recommend at this point. And, maybe FDNY doesn't know yet either, but I think there is a need for that advice to be researched and given, frankly, citywide.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
So, Greg, yeah, you can contact the board. We'll talk, and definitely I'd like to see the video, and we're looking forward to having, if you're our contact person, I guess we're going to see you every week if you're willing to come back, or every month rather.
Yeah, if do you have a specific date, or do you work those dates out amongst yourselves?
We generally meet the third Tuesday of every month. It's usually the third Tuesday unless some holiday interrupts that.
Okay, yeah, I was notified yesterday of the meeting, so just a little advance notice. I can extract some things from the numbers and add context to them, which may be more helpful than just the raw numbers.
It's great to have you here. Thank you. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, but it seems like we may have just be scratching the surface with this, that there's going to be a lot more to come with this, unfortunately.
Because they are everywhere. They're perfectly made for a city environment, in which you have a very crowded city. They're easily mobile throughout the city. It's perfectly made for a dense population environment. You can get around very easily with them. To address the gentleman's question, one of the things I would say is, the volume of combustibles that you have around it are part of the problem, right? So the device itself, I've been in apartments where the device itself has gone on fire and it put numerous people at risk. But there weren't a ton of combustibles around it. So when it took off, it didn't have a lot around it to burn. It was the device itself. It was quick. It burned quick, and it creates a lot of toxic gases. But you've sort of limited the time frame or duration or volume of fire that you're going to deal with in the aftermath. Whereas, there are other times where he mentions in the garage, an unsprinkled garage, in that situation, the combustibles, the toxic smoke, the volume of fire that this thing produces, it's going to find its way into hallways, which are one of our main problems. When people are walking down a set of stairs and you've created this chimney of combustible and toxic material, that's where we lose a lot of people in that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Greg, and we'll be talking soon. Thanks for coming.
Very good.
Okay, next up is the New York State Liquor Authority renewal applications, and first on our list is Mr. Viggs. Is there anyone here from Mr. Viggs, Representative Mr. Viggs?
I am Fran Haig, owner.
Hey, Fran, how are you?
Yeah.
Good, thank you, and thanks everybody for being patient. Okay, so how's business?
It's not terrible after COVID.
Okay, any issues, any
Not at all.
All right, so this is renewal for a full liquor license. Is there anybody on the committee that has any questions? Chris Calhoun, your hand is up for Fran of Mr. Viggs.
Yes, I'm familiar with Miss Hage and her family. As far as I'm concerned, it's a stalwart business right there on Marshallou, if not one of the oldest on that street. And hearing what I have to say, it's getting a yes vote for me. That business also gives back to the community, has done charity work for Calvary Hospital and other things throughout the community. So I can't say enough good things about a little tavern in our community, and they really do give back. That's all.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, Cesar, 5670 Marshallou Avenue. Everything good over there? No issues over there?
No issues, no issues. They need to work on that Yelp rating. No, I'm kidding.
I know.
No,
I'm
seriously.
terrible with advertising. I really am. One of the bartenders just put me on Instagram and they're like, "Oh, I like you're doing bingo." And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't do Instagram. I'm not really good with any of that.
When are you doing bingo?
We did it. It's a very random, but when we did it, a lot of people didn't hear about it. So
Well, we haven't heard anything that is alarming to us, and we're grateful for that. You guys are great.
yeah, we keep it tight. We always did. So
Okay, with that, we're gonna take a vote on it. I'll try to make this easy. Is there anyone on the committee that is opposed or wants to abstain from approving this application? I don't hear anybody. I don't see any hands up. So this application is approved unanimously by the Public Safety Committee and will go to our full board at our next board meeting. Thank you, Fran, for coming out, and thanks for being patient and waiting.
thank you. Good to see you again.
Likewise. Okay, next up is Moonstar Grill. Is there anyone here representing Moonstar Grill at 3519 and 2525 Johnson Avenue? Anyone here from Moonstar? Oh, I see somebody, but you're muted. You're muted. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get you unmuted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Hi,
Hello,
Musada.
yeah,
Hi, so you're from
Hi.
Moonstar, right?
Yeah,
yes,
Okay, so Moonstar, this is a renewal for wine, beer, and cider. I got a question for you. So you have two addresses listed, 3519 Johnson Avenue and 2525 Johnson Avenue. On the application, it says store A and B. So this is two separate restaurants. You're applying for liquor licenses for both restaurants. Is that correct?
just one restaurant,
Just the
just
one?
one, yeah, 3519-25.
Oh, okay. So it's just one restaurant.
Yeah,
Gotcha, okay. Now I get it, all right. Cesar, 3519 Johnson Avenue, any issues with that location or any calls about that business? No?
Not at all, no.
Does anybody from the committee have any questions? Who am I speaking with? Are you the owner?
owner here.
And what's your name?
What?
Are you Mr. Chen?
Yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Chen.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so does anybody from the committee have any questions from Mr. Chen of Moonstar Grill? Okay, so with that, we're gonna take a vote on it. Is there anybody who is abstaining or is voting no to approve this application? I don't hear anyone and I don't see anyone, so this application is approved unanimously by the Public Safety Committee and will go before the full board at our next board meeting. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Oh, Okay, we have, next up is Kingsbridge Social Club at 3625 Kingsbridge Avenue. Is there anyone here for Kingsbridge Social Club tonight?
Yes.
Ah, there you go. iPhone, what's up?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Is this David Lindsay?
This is. Yes, sir.
All right, David. So renewal Kingsbridge Social Club, I've eaten there once. The food was really good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Hold on one second. I gotta mute somebody here. All right, so this is for a full liquor license. How's the business?
Things are okay. Can't complain.
Okay, Caesar, 3625 Kingsbridge Avenue, that's right near you. What's up with that? Is any
No.
issues over there? No problems?
They've always been great. Yeah, no problems.
Does anybody from the committee have any questions for Mr. Lindsay of Kingsbridge Social Club? Okay, so we're gonna take a vote on this. Is there anyone abstaining from voting on this or is voting no? I don't hear anyone. I don't see any hands. So this application is being approved unanimously by the Public Safety Committee and will go before our full board at our next board meeting. Thank you, David, for coming out.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Next up is, do we have anyone tonight for El Economical Restaurant at 5589 Broadway?
Yes, we're here. Good evening.
Hey, how are you? Oh, there's
Good,
some familiar faces. What's going on? How are you? Okay, so this is for renewal for a full liquor license
Yes.
and Caesar, 5589 Broadway, El Economico. Any issues at that area of the business?
No, all good, all good, all good.
Okay, how's business, by the way?
Everything's very well.
Okay, did you guys open another restaurant? You did, right? How's that
We
going?
did. Yes.
Going good? Good, very good.
Yes.
Okay, so is there anybody from the committee that has any questions? Mr. Vargas, right, Franklin? That's you? Okay. No questions. Okay, so with that, we're gonna vote. Is there anybody on the committee that wants to abstain or vote no on this application? I don't hear anybody. I don't see any hands. So this application is approved unanimously by the Public Safety Committee and will go before our full board at our next full board meeting. Thank you for coming out and good luck with your businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more renewal, which is Bellanote of Riverdale. Is there anybody here from Bellanote of Riverdale? Belanote of Riverdale. I don't know if all our, well, nobody's here. It's seemingly nobody's here. I got this application in very late. And I guess if nobody's here, we're gonna have to table this application, but it was for Belanote of Riverdale at 3524 Johnson Avenue. It was a renewal for,
And it looks like Joshua Pizarro was raising his hand.
oh, Joshua, hey, you're muted. Let me unmute you here.
No, I'm sorry about that. I didn't even know I was muted or unmuted. I didn't even know my set was making sound, but I just want to say, did I miss Tijuana's?
Not yet. Not yet. That's in corporate change. We're getting there. Okay? All right. So nobody here from Belanote. All right, so that's it for the renewals. New applications. So new applications. Is there anyone here from El Tina Restaurant at 308 West 231st Street?
Yes, I'm right here, Diosdado Soto.
Hey, Mr. Soto, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Good, good. Okay, so we did receive a 2 a.m. agreement a signed 2 a.m. agreement from you. And this is for wine, beer, and cider.
That's correct.
Okay, so does anybody from the committee have any questions for Mr. Soto? This is for a new application. I don't see any questions. I have a question or two. So are you an owner at any other business right now? Is this your first business in the area?
No, I have another location in 511 West 125. We also have wine and beer, and never had any issues or complaint in Harlem. So we intended to also do the same in this community.
Okay, is there anything in particular about this area that attracted you up here, that why you wanted to set up a business up here?
I live around, and I noticed that basically next to Riverdale and North Riverdale, there is not like a lot of Dominican restaurants. So we decided to see what's going on here and serve the community.
Okay, great. So no other questions from Mr. Soto from the committee. Okay, so this is gonna be what type of restaurant? Dominican restaurant?
Yeah, it's a Dominican restaurant.
Okay, and what are your hours gonna be?
Basically, we're closing at 10 p.m. So we don't open late.
And what
The
time do you
other
open?
one, we open at until 10. Oh, we open at 8 a.m. and close at 10 p.m.
Okay, great. So we'll take a vote on this. Is anybody, if there's anybody who's abstaining or is voting no, let us know right now. I don't see any hands. I don't hear anybody. So this application is approved and will go before our full board at our next board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Soto, for coming out, and good luck with your business.
Thank you.
I wish you the best.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Okay, next up, we have Izili Luxury Hall Corp. Is at 5540 Broadway. Is there anyone here from Izili?
Hello,
Hello.
this is Ben from Belanote. Fran just gave me a call. I never received
Oh.
the agenda.
Oh, okay, all right, so let's, give me 1 second, Ben. Let me see if somebody's here from Izili, and then I'll back up and get you, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, is there anybody here from Izili, Izili Luxury Hall Corp? I don't see anyone. I don't hear anyone. I'll give them a second call in a minute. Ben, I'm just gonna circle back to you because I got one more new application and then I'll get you,
No
okay?
worries, no worries. Take your time.
All right, so one more new application is a Emiliano Gourmet Market. Is there at 5626 Marshall Avenue? Is there anyone here from Emiliano Gourmet Market?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you? I saw you here early. You've been waiting patiently. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
And Franca. Are you
Yes,
Franca?
yes,
Ah,
and
very
this
good.
is Emiliano, my
And
husband.
Mr. Emiliano. Okay, so you're the manager, Franca, right?
Yes, that's a
Okay.
legal title. Yes, we're owners.
Yes. Okay. New application. Wine, beer and cider.
Yep.
Did we get a 2 AM agreement from you guys? I don't have one.
I
No?
don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna have the board reach out to you because our policy at this committee is any new application, we ask to sign a 2 AM closing agreement.
Oh, we're
is-
closing way earlier than 2 AM.
I figured that much.
We got
but
little kids.
I don't assume anything. So, yeah, so that you'd be willing to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great. I'll make a note to have the office send you the 2 AM agreement that we can have signed and
We're in our fifth dream by 2 AM.
in your fifth dream?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody from the committee that has any questions for the owners of Emiliano Gourmet Market?
And I'll just say it's a great place, great establishment. Great to have them in the area. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, you're familiar with them, Scott?
I am.
Okay. So, maybe you guys can tell me a little, it sounds interesting. Emiliano Gourmet Market. What do you got there?
So we're an Italian market. Our main thing right now, we're sandwiches, paninis, and we're looking to expand into hot food. Pending we find the right cook for us. We also sell Italian products. It's very busy on the weekends. A lot of our customers like to come and sit down. We have outdoor seating and indoor seating. They like to come and have a panini or a charcuterie board. And we would just like to complement that with a glass of wine or a glass of beer. And it's very family oriented, lots of kids. It's on Marshall Avenue. And this is our community. So we live a block away, a 5-minute walk away. So
Do you have any other businesses anywhere?
no, we opened 8 months ago.
Okay.
This is our first go at it.
All right, so I don't see any other hands, questions, so I'm gonna bring this to a vote. So this is really contingent upon us receiving the 2 AM agreement, but we, like I said, I'll have somebody from Bronx Community Board 8 reach out to you tomorrow and we'll set that up.
Okay.
All right, so with that, anybody on the committee is opposed or wants to abstain from voting on this application? I don't see any hands. I don't hear anyone. So this application is approved unanimously pending a signed 2 AM agreement by the owners, and it will go before our full board at our next board meeting. So thank you for coming out. Good luck for the business, and I'm gonna check it out myself. It sounds.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're back to Ben. You there, Ben?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Bill and Note, right?
Yes, sir.
I gotta find your application. Hold on. They sent it to me a little late. So this is for a renewal. 3524 Johnson Avenue. Caesar, any issues with that, that business or that area? 30, what is it? 30, I can't even read this. It's so small. 35? 3524.
No, it's the same as the other ones on Johnson. The places themselves, there's no issues. The biggest issue that we have is the traffic with the double parking, and that's not, yeah, that's not directly related to the restaurants.
Okay. So Ben, you're the owner. You the owner?
That's correct.
How's business?
Catering has been very good lately. The to-go and pickup is moderate, and the restaurant is dead.
It's a shame. I hope things pick up for you.
Yeah.
Is
You know,
there
I
any-
think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's nowhere to park here. There's a bunch of barricades and places to eat, you know, all winter long with nobody in the street. It doesn't make any sense, right?
You know what I would do, Ben? We have, Bronx Community Board Aid has an economic development committee meeting. And the chair of that committee, Nick Fazio, is very involved in trying to do whatever he can to make sure our businesses succeed in this area. So if you think that there's something that's kind of an obstruction to your business that may be able to get rectified, that might be the avenue to go talk to Nick at our economic
Yeah,
development.
I'm acquainted with Nick. You know,
Okay, great. Great. Okay, so with that, is there anybody that has any questions for Ben of Bellanote of Riverdale? I don't see any questions, so we'll take a vote on it. If there's anybody who is opposed to this or anybody who is abstaining, speak up now. I don't hear anyone. I don't see any hands. So this application is passed unanimously, and it will go to our full board at our next board meeting. Thanks, Ben, for coming out.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the late arrival.
No
I didn't receive an invitation to the Zoom. There was a confusion when I originally put my application in. They lost it at the community board, and I just gave it back to them, you know, because I hadn't heard from anybody. So.
Oh,
you
no
know,
problem. Don't worry about it.
I'm glad Frank called me, and I'm glad that I could join.
Likewise. Thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so we have a couple of corporate changes. First up is Kaye Bar and Grill. Is anyone here from Kaye Bar and Grill? Anybody here from Kaye Bar and Grill? I'm a little surprised nobody showed up from Kaye tonight. We had, just for the committee, for a point of reference, we had Kaye here, well, at the 50th precinct when we had our meeting in September. And the committee had a lot of questions about, well, Captain Gervin told us that there was a lot of complaints there, and we had a lot of questions, and we tabled the application until we got some further clarification on what the owner intended to do about some of these issues. And I really wish the owners had come today, because I did receive, just to let the committee know, I did receive a lengthy email from the owners that in my mind basically satisfied all my questions about them and what they intended to do about some of the issues that were going on with them. And it seems like it was possible that, you know, more than possible, that a lot of the problems that were going on were not directly related to them as a business. So maybe we'll see them again, maybe hopefully we'll see them again, maybe at our next meeting they'll show up. But I mean, I can't speak for the committee, but I was, you know, prepared to, you know, grant them their extension for their corporate change, which was alteration. We still did need to find out what the occupancy was going to be of their alteration. But as far as all the problems and complaints were concerned, most of that had satisfied me. I would go through them line by line, but it seems kind of fruitless to do that without the owners here at this point. So I'm going to move on and get to the next application. And I guess we'll table it until the owners of Kaye come back to our committee. So last up, is there anyone here representing Tijuana Nights at 216 West 242nd Street? I believe there was a minute ago. We had Mr. Pizarro.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Hey, so you're here for Tijuana Nights?
Actually, I'm not representing them. I'm actually to ask some questions about the reestablishing that in our community, because I represent a lot of people in this community that have issues with that establishment.
Okay, beautiful. So just hang on one second. I thought you might have been a representative of them. We'll give you a chance to talk, and I'm glad you showed up.
Okay, thank
Let me find out if anybody's here first representing them, and we'll definitely give you a chance to speak on that. So, is there anybody here representing Tijuana Nights?
No.
I don't hear anybody. And I don't see any hands up representing Tijuana Nights. So, okay, before I let, Mr. Pizarro came out to speak on this, and David Gelman? Oh, wait, David, just hold off for a second, okay? I'll get to you.
Okay.
All right, so where do I begin? Tijuana Nights. So this is nobody's here to represent Tijuana Nights, but I do want to speak about this. It's a corporate change, and it's also a renewal. It's a corporate change and a renewal. And the corporate change would be them removing Urbano Estevez, who was the owner. And what that exactly means, I can't even tell you, because it's not so spelled out completely for me. Well, I'm sure all of you got the application, but I'll just give you my interpretation of what, well, it's not even my interpretation, it's just what it is. The principal on the application is Aurelia Taveras. Her title is representative, and she has been the representative. As far as I know, she's not the new owner, but I don't have any verification of that one way or another. And I think I was discussing this with somebody today. I think that's almost a blind spot on these SLA applications, that they should have a portion of the application where the owner is actually stated who it is, because they can have a principal sign the name and then have a title of representative or a title of president. They don't necessarily have to be the owner. So that aside, I mean, the community board does have the right to ask who the owner is, which I would have liked to have done if Mr. Varis or another representative showed up from this business. But since nobody's here, I'll tell you what some of the, well, you know what, before I even get into this, maybe Cesar wants to, Cesar Sala, do you want to speak on this? This 216 West 242nd Street, are you familiar with this area? And does the 5-0 have any problems that you know of that's aware of this area?
Okay, so there is a long history of issues there. There's a lot of parking issues. There's a lot of loud music complaints. There's a lot of basically the partying spills out into the street, and that's the main problem, right? You do have, it is a busy area in general, but a lot of it does come from that specific location where people are spilling out and hanging out in the cars. You know, you got people smoking and basically just hanging out outside. So that's not something that is really under control. That's a problem for the area.
Okay, and before I get to Mr. Pizarro, well, let's get to Mr. Pizarro right now, because I see he looks like he means business. He came out here, taking his time. You want to speak on this? Because I know I'm sure you're a resident in the area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I just want to say thank you for having me on this board and taking the time to listen. I appreciate you guys. Basically, I represent a large piece of the community because I live in the building you just mentioned, and there's rumbling from above the apartments, from the establishment, and not only is there the parking issues, which it spills out into the street, which the cars double park, and it's only a 1-lane block, but the establishment stays open to 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. And 4 in the morning, when you come home from work, if you work late like me, it's dangerous. There's drunk, high. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink. just cigarettes. But when you're coming home late and there's drunk and high people, and it's very dangerous too. If you have a kid and wife, you know what I mean? You have a kid and wife coming home during any time from 9 to like 10 o'clock at night, it's dangerous. You don't want your wife coming home and dealing with these drunk people harassing her, and she got to walk by the club to get into the building. So it's a lot of danger. And I got hurt. I got my jaw broken. That's how you can see by people that were drunk outside the establishment. So that's all I want to say.
Hey, Mr. Pizarro, so when did that happen? You were assaulted over there?
I was assaulted August 28th, I believe, August 28th or 29th. And they got video of it, but I couldn't get the video, but of the guys beating me up. And I live right at the passage to get to my house. So I wasn't drunk, I wasn't high, and they just took a toll on me. So, and it was worse with the other club. It was worse with Barcelona Bites. I can't lie. Barcelona Bites was way worse. And I know that the 50th precinct got a lot of reports on that with the gun shootings, stabbings. But this club was okay when it first opened. Tijuana. It was under another name, though, I believe. It was with an F. It was good when it first opened, but then when they started bringing in the club environment, and then when it was a little dining area to eat and people could, just chill, it was a nice area. But once they made the club environment and put the speakers and more alcohol, it just got way rowdy, and it got dangerous with wife, kids, and we live right across the street. You don't even know what she goes through when she's trying to sleep at night to 4 a.m. and the people that live below her, that's even worse. You know what I mean? And I get the call, like, Josh, what should we do? And I'm just like, you know what? Just make a report to 311. And I'm not scared to show my face, because I've been assaulted by them a couple times, and I've been here for 7 years, almost 7 years now, going November 15th. Oh, 7 years. 7 years.
Would you say it was patrons of the club that assaulted you, or somebody associated with the club?
Associated with the club.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Pizarro. Appreciate you coming out and bringing this to our attention. And thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I kind of hate to put her on the spot, but I see Randy Martos from Assemblyman Dinowitz's office here. I don't know if you'd like to say anything on behalf of the Assemblyman's office, because we did get, the board was contacted by the Assemblyman's office regarding this establishment multiple times. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. But if you have anything to contribute, it would be appreciated.
I'll just reiterate, hi, everyone. What was said earlier, I forwarded all the list of complaints and 311 numbers we've gotten for months. It is an establishment that causes us to get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls for exactly what Officer Sala has said, and the gentleman, Joshua, the loud noise, that spills outside, the double parking, the just rude behavior of people just trying to get home from work or wherever they're coming from, that particular site has been a constant source of annoyance for community members over there. So, and they don't seem to care, no matter what their name is.
Thank you. Appreciate the input. David Gilman.
Yes, thank you. Two things now. One, I don't think it's a coincidence, the similarity between Tijuana Nights and the former Barcelona Bites.
It's not.
And I wonder, in a corporate change here, if we know the history of the corporate owners, to see whether there's in fact a real separation, or if it's just a paperwork thing to walk away from the history. So I think that's something that we need to explore. And the second is hearing Mr. Pizarro's report, his personal assault. I knew, for going back to the days of Inspector O'Toole, the problems that the 5-0 had with that site. Officer Sala, are you aware of these assaults? That's a whole nother level. I mean, it's one thing to be rowdy and noisy and yelling and harassing people, but a physical assault, this is news to me.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard it. So I'm looking, when I look in the system, I'm not sure if there was a 911 call in regards to it, or if it was maybe at the intersection as opposed to the address. But yeah, that was the first I heard about it. I know in the past that place, like he said, has had issues, but it's been a long time since it was Barcelona Bikes. So I was not, comparing it to what it used to be. I was going what it's been recently, which said, it wasn't considered to be bad up until I would say this summer started to pick up.
Right. Well, I think it would serve the community well for the two of you to have a conversation, to get down deeper into this issue. Because like I said, that's a whole nother level of concern. I mean, we always have issues with, kids at the college making noise and young people at this site making noise and on Bailey and on Broadway, but assault is a whole nother matter that needs to be nipped in the bud. So I would encourage the two of you to talk. Thank you.
Yeah, I would look
Thank you,
forward.
David. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I agree with that.
Okay, so David, I just want to answer the first part of your question. I do have the answer to your first part of or half of the answer anyway. So as far as prior involvement and current involvement, yes, the owner is the same owner, and we have the paperwork, and I checked the paperwork. It's the same name, the same owner of this club right now as it was when it was Barcelona Bites. However, the corporate change is about removing that owner from, which would, you would think would be good news, but the problem is I'm not sure at this point. I don't know who the new owner is going to be. I don't know if this is a shell game. I don't know, to be honest with you. So that it is the same owner as the previous place right now, but who the new owner is, that's why I would have hoped somebody showed up tonight. I see a hand. Maria is up. Maria, is this in reference to Tijuana Nights?
No, from Calle Bar and Grill.
Oh, hold on, Maria. We'll circle back to you. We would call on you before, but we'll come back at you. Okay, I'm glad you showed up. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed. I hope that the office can find out greater information about the old and new ownership, and have the new ownership show up at a meeting where they state affirmatively, we have no relationship with the prior owners. They will not be involved whatsoever. I think that would give the members of the community board and the community greater comfort about the application. But since they haven't shown up, we don't know. And your questions about the new ownership are quite valid.
Yeah, and the problem with that, David, is they've done that before and it turned out not to be true. So here, that's what we have right now.
But if they lie to us and if something happens, that's something we can bring to the state liquor authority and ask for the retraction of their liquor license.
Yeah, we may be at that point right now, but.
Okay, good. This is good research. Thanks, Ed.
Okay, so nobody's here to represent Tijuana Nights, and I'm not gonna go on all night about them, but just in case, I know this was sent out. I try to gather a lot of information in the last few days, and I don't know if everybody from the committee received, but just today we had all the 311 calls, or a lot of them anyway, sent to the committee from and I want to thank Assemblyman Dinowitz's office for providing that information for us. But I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's like, you look at this thing, there's so many calls, and I'm sure there was so many that we didn't have also. And it goes back from, June, August, September 12th, that, you know, and as we all know, the club has a history of problems with this. So, even though they didn't show up, I'd like to vote on this. I don't, me personally, I don't need to hear anything from the owner at this point that I think is gonna change my mind on this. And they always have the opportunity to come back and even come to our board meeting, I guess, if they want, but I want to take a vote on this application, but and again, just to remind the committee, this is for a renewal of their liquor license and for a corporate change. And the corporate change they're requesting is the removal of Urbano Estevez, the previous owner, but they're not stating even who the new owner is going to be. So that's what it is. I'd like to take a vote on this, and me personally, I'm gonna vote to disapprove this application based on their past history and all the testimony given to us by neighbors like Joshua Pizarro and the reports from Randy Martos from AM Dinowitz's office and the you know, tons of 311 calls we've received. And you know, just real quick, a personal story. I work in that area, and I've actually visited the businesses. And you would think that a club atmosphere, you know, the businesses would be, you'd think they'd be happy to have a club there because it would generate business. I talked to the owners of one of the stores, a couple of guys from Yemen, and great people. And they say that, you know, we hope they go out of business because 25 people come into the store, 2 people buy sandwiches, the rest steal and mess up the store. So they don't want them there. And I've heard this personally myself, working in that environment down there and going around asking. So there's a lot, to me, there's a lot of evidence saying that this business is not acting in good faith. It's being very disruptive to our community. And, you know, we've heard a lot of testimony, you know, testifying to that. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to vote no, that we should disapprove this application and send a notice of disapproval to the State Liquor License Authority for their corporate change and for their liquor license renewal. So we're going to take a vote. Is there anybody, is there anybody in favor of approving this application? Or is there anyone abstaining? Okay. Just, you know, just to make it official, I'm gonna roll call this one because it's a little bit of unusual. Scott Carpenter, how do you vote? Approve or disapprove this application?
I disapprove. I just want to say, in addition to what you said, the lack of appearance today, I think evinces the lack of respect for the community. So no.
Right. And I didn't add the fact that they were disrespectful to our staff when we contacted them too, but that's just another 2 cents. Bob Kaplan, how do you vote, approval or disapproval on this application?
Disapprove.
Thank you. Chris Calhoun, how do you vote, approval or disapproval on this application?
Disapprove on what you've said, the testimony tonight from the neighbor in the area, and the 5-0 and Dinowitz's office, absolutely disapproval.
Thank you, and I'm disapproval as well. So Sergio's no longer with us here, but we do have 4 people is enough since we have 7 in this committee for quorum. So the vote of disapproving this application passes, and we will bring this to the full board, and I'm sure we'll have further discussion on this on the full board because it is, you know, we usually don't disapprove, but you know, the last comment I'll say about this is I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying that I've received more complaints about this one business than all the rest of our businesses combined. And that's not an exaggeration. So there you have it. Anyway, we're going to circle back to Maria from Kaye is here. And Maria, you still with us? Maria?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you for coming. I spoke a little on your business before, and I just wanted to reiterate what I was saying earlier to the committee. So, we had you guys come before us in, September, at our meeting at the 50th precinct, and based on what Captain Gervin said, that there was some issues with the area, we had concerns about this, and since then, I've received emails from you and, well, I mean, I'm just gonna read it actually. So you write that you wanted to follow up with us regarding some of the questions that came up with the meeting, and you had an opportunity to meet again with the client. Oh, this is Maria. So you didn't come to the meeting, did you, Maria?
No,
Go ahead.
my lawyer went.
Okay,
Sandra.
so I'll just clarify it. So I got this email and I told the committee earlier that I was satisfied with all your, responses to what you, because there are issues going around with that area, but it's not like everything can be attributed to your business. There's issues over there, and I'm going to read some of the things that you or your representative wrote to us, and to me, they satisfied me, but I want the committee to hear this so that they know, that some of the issues that were going on, how you intend to deal with them. So one of the issues was parking, and your business responded to us by telling us that the owners have expanded their parking to customers at Kaye, which was also a BJ's. Is it in the BJ's parking lot? Is that, there was a typo here. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, sometimes we do parking in BJ, but we also own the car wash down the block.
Right.
So we use it as a parking lot there too.
Okay, and I did have a couple of questions with that. My question would have been, how are the customers made aware of that?
Of the valet?
Of where the parking is, yeah. Oh, it's a
No,
valet?
it's a valet company.
So they would, when the people pull up, instead of double parking and, jamming up the streets, your people would tell them where to park? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
we park the car ourselves.
Park them yourselves. Okay,
Mhm.
great. So the two locations with the car wash and BJ's, which you also have access to?
I believe my husband is in agreement with the parking lot there. But
Okay.
sometimes they have enough parking space to, to put the cars. There are some people that they don't like to valet and they find the parking themselves.
Okay, so the next issue was noise. So the response you guys gave was the owners understand the quality of life for their neighbors is a priority to them. So the owners have installed double pane windows at the premises. Is that correct?
Yes, also we have double doors. That way we can conceal the sound when they come in. We have one door and then we have another door to go inside the restaurant.
Okay, so when was that done? When was the double pane windows put in?
Last year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Would you say this was before or after all these complaints were coming in?
When was the last complaint? I think the complaint were like last year, I believe.
Oh, well, I mean, when we went, the captain wasn't specific of when the complaints were. He just
Yeah,
said,
it was early last year.
okay, fair
Mhm.
enough. So it also states that the owner paid for having lighting installed around the business and somewhat beyond the borders.
Yes.
And that the block had fire incidents that left the entire block with damaged commercial spaces, blackouts, and low moving pedestrian traffic. So that was one of the reasons that we brought this up earlier, that some guys selling marijuana under the scaffold or something. So because of the fires, it seems to attracted some people that probably wouldn't be there otherwise.
Mhm.
So we don't, we're not going to hold you responsible for that, obviously, but I guess the last well, that was pretty much it. So I just felt, just by reading this, you also gave a statement that you're committed to the safety and the well-being of the neighborhood, and willing to work with people on the block and the police, you know,
Yes.
safety because of these abandoned businesses that are around you. So in my view anyway, you seem to have taken the necessary steps to address the complaints that the 50th precinct had. And you know, so, you know, moving forward, I'm just hoping the business can work with the precinct to prevent anything like that stuff that's happened in the past. So with that, oh, the last question I wanted to ask you is, did you ever get a number on how many, you know, I don't want to forget about the reason we're here in the first place is the alteration. So how many people is that going to hold? Do you have any idea?
Mhm.
And before
Give me
it
a
was
second.
75, now it's 130.
130.
Okay.
Mhm.
130. Okay. All right. So Cesar, I know you're familiar with the area, and actually one of the other businesses that is no longer operating is the one we had the most complaints from, the one that was Talila, and it was not Kaye. So there was a little bit of confusion with that. And are you any other issues very recently with them that you can think of, or everything okay over there?
No, everything's been
Other
good.
than the guy selling weed underneath the scaffold?
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to look into that, but as far as the establishment is concerned, no, we don't have any issues with them.
Great. Okay, so with that, I want to take a vote from the committee. Well, before we take a vote, do we have any questions from the committee? Any committee members have any questions for Maria? Maria, you're the owner, correct?
I'm the wife.
Wife of
The
the
owner's
owner.
right next to me. Yeah.
Okay. All right, does nobody from the committee have a question for Maria? Okay, so with that, we're gonna take a vote. This is for the alteration. And is there anybody who's abstaining or is gonna vote no against this application from our committee? I don't see anybody and I don't see any hands up. So this application passes the Public Safety Committee unanimously and will go before our full board at our next board meeting. And I just want to thank the owners for being patient with this process because, you know, we, as you saw with the last applicant, there are some businesses that really get out of control and can cause the neighborhoods a lot of misery. So we wanted to, you know, we hear complaints, we got to err on the side of caution sometimes, but you seem to have satisfied all our concerns. And, you know, I personally wish you the best. And you know, we have an economic development committee. I know you've spoken to Nick Fazio. I'm pretty sure you've spoken.
Yes, I'm working with him.
And Nick loves you guys, and he's trying to do whatever he can to make sure your business succeeds. So if you have any issues, or if you feel that stuff is happening or outside your establishment that may cast a bad light on your establishment, I think the first person you should call is Cesar here at the 50th precinct to let him know what's going on over there. And then maybe you might want to talk to me as well. And you can, my door is always open. You can always contact me as well. All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
So with that, it'll go before our full board and it's approved by the Public Safety Committee. Thanks for coming out.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we've gone on a little here, but we have one more issue on the agenda. I think there's only one. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, is there any old business? There's no old business. Anybody have any old business to bring up? I don't hear anything. I don't see anybody. So new business. Okay, so on our agenda is a discussion of organized retail crime, and I'll just say a little about, well, I don't know, Scott, can I put you on the spot here? You want to take the lead here and just say, Scott brought this to our attention, and I think it's something worthy of discussion at this committee. So Scott, do you have anything you want to lead us on this, or if you don't, that's cool
Sure.
too.
No, that's fine.
it was just brought to my attention by a constituent or a resident that I think the major incident was at Knowles Crescent, the Rite Aid. We had it was definitely like some sort of organized robbery a few weeks ago, and the resident believed that they were from Brooklyn, so it wasn't like a local spur of the moment thing. I think there was between 4 or 5 people involved. And I know there's been incidents at the 238th Street Rite Aid as well. And as I understand it, they may even think about closing, which would be bad for the community. So I just wanted to, the resident wanted to put this on the agenda, and I wanted to bring it to the committee for discussion as to, and as to the precinct as well, as to what their thoughts are on this subject, what is being done to address it, and what steps can be taken by these, by these businesses to try to mitigate.
I did a little bit of research on this, and I checked out the actual incident itself. What is there anything that you saw that would lead you to believe that this is falls under the category of organized well, first, I guess we got to define what organized retail crime is. You know what, maybe before we blather on into realms we're not experts on, maybe we should ask the expert Caesar on this. Are you familiar with this incident up at Rite Aid? And it was kind of reported as a potential organized retail crime. And do you have any thoughts on this?
So I know that we've had a continuous problem, right? There's been patterns that have occurred. So I don't know of anything being organized. I could look into that. As far as I know, it's just basically repeat offender type of stuff going on. And unfortunately, some guys come back out relatively quick, and they go back and they do it again. And this is, it creates a pattern. So no, I can't say I know any specific details that would be helpful at the moment, but I'll look into it and see what the NCOs say about it, because they're the ones on the grounds and at specific locations, including Rite Aid.
Regarding I'm sorry, Ed, if I may.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, Officer Sal, just regarding the Knowles Crescent incident, are you familiar with any details about that?
I know there was an arrest made. That's pretty much as far as I go as far as knowing what happened.
Because I think what led the residents to believe it was quote unquote organized is that it was a group of people, 2 to 4 people. I think more than 2 that were from outside the district. So maybe that's what led her to believe. I don't know, but that's the information I have.
If it's the same, I'm thinking of they made 2 arrests. I don't know how many original perpetrators there were, but there was 2 arrests made in regards to it.
That's correct. Okay, so this is what I know about it. They did wear masks. They came in. It wasn't any run-of-the-mill shopping story. They came in. They wore masks. The clerks there were extremely shaken up, and it wasn't clear if they were armed or not. They said there were 4 of them. And they were very aggressive and threatening. And, according to the clerk, she sees shoplifting all the time in the store, but this was different. And they're actually nervous that the people are going to come back because they were so threatening. And there were 2 arrests made, and the 2 arrests were 2 men, 20 and 27, from Brooklyn, and they were charged with 3rd-degree grand larceny and 4th-degree grand larceny. So, I don't know. I don't know that much about organized retail crime. That's why I wanted to talk about it, but I did do a little research and I was reading about it. And, apparently it's an epidemic now, and this is, after the pandemic, it seems like there's been a lot of efforts by criminals to target Target, Rite Aid type, CVS type stores and well, any retail stores with, we've even seen on the news in California, them targeting, high-end jewelry stores and stuff. So the fact that 4 people are coming in with masks is not, it's not the kid from Kennedy who's stealing bubble gum out of the, that sounds kind of serious. David, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. That happens to be coincidentally happens to be my local pharmacy. It was, in fact, there Saturday getting my booster. But I still don't know. Was this a large scale shoplifting? Did they steal money from the register? Did they take anything from the pharmacy itself? Officer Sala, can you better define this for us? You're on mute.
I can say
So
that
you're
they-
still on mute.
I could say that they jumped behind the counter and stole a lot of nicotine products, and then they ran back to the pharmacy. The reports I get, they don't specify what was taken other than nicotine products, but they did say they went back to the pharmacy. That could mean anything, that could mean a lot of drugs stolen. That could mean nothing stolen. I don't know what that
They
means.
took products. They took products. That's basically what they took.
Doesn't stealing drugs bring it into the federal realm?
No, they weren't selling it across the state line. If anything, it's just the value of whatever they
Right.
took is what matters.
Okay, so this was a large scale shoplifting thing.
Well, it's something that's occurred more than once. So after a certain amount of times, it becomes creates what they call a pattern. So when there's a pattern, that's usually when they have a task force assigned to it.
Okay, because organized crime usually has a completely different connotation.
Yeah, I mean, people, the reason they're thinking it's organized, or the reason somebody might say or use the term organized crime is because there's a plan behind it. And it's
Right.
not somebody who's an addict that just needs money and needs a fix and comes in and grabs something.
Or like Ed says, it's not a kid stealing
Yeah,
candy.
exactly. Yeah, it's not random.
Well,
Not random. Fair enough.
David, I feel this is an organized crime, and I'll tell you why is first of all, the two of the suspects got away, but 2 were apprehended, and they were both from Brooklyn. So what are 2 guys from Brooklyn doing in Riverdale, stealing, bum rushing a Rite Aid and grabbing everything they can get their hands on? What's kind of disturbing to me is, okay, you have 2 people not from the area doing that. And one of the things I saw about one of the patterns of organized retail crime right now is how it's people who are criminals are going from store to store and even city to city in some of these cases. So, like Officer Salas says, when people hear organized crime, we get images in our mind of the mafia, the mob, or stuff like that. But organized crime can be anything from something that severe to people, a group of people getting together, targeting something to steal or something like that. So this was obviously, they're not kids from the neighborhood. They're from, so who knows what other places they've targeted. And it's just like, we had recently somebody who was shot in Riverdale for their motorcycle. So that to me, that's an organized issue. It was a couple of people. I mean, hey, we used to call them stick-up teams back in the day, but it is organized. And my concern is not so much that it's a few people getting together to do this so-called organized crime. It's how many other people are doing it. Is this a trend? Is this something that we have to be on the lookout for? Do our businesses have to be guarded, more vigorously? Because a lot of times when these things happen, it spreads like wildfire. Oh, these guys got away with it, so let's rob this neighborhood. Or the people who get away with it, sometimes they come back. This was an easy pickings. Let's come back. Scott, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just Officer Sal, maybe you can confirm. I think in addition, this particular incident happened at like 8 or 9 in the morning.
I don't know the time frame. I know that That would not surprise me. I think it was early in the morning.
Right.
But a common hour of that type of thing happening is either, before business hours, 6, 7, 8 in the morning, around then, and then also after the evening hours. Those are the two times where these things usually happen.
So if I could just ask, is this particular type of incident something that's on the radar generally? Like, we call organized here, but I don't know if you guys call it something different, but is this something that's on the radar in terms of enforcement and cracking down on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if
Okay.
you go around, you'll see a lot of times, like we usually have a car by the Rite Aid, right by the precinct, just because, it's a daily occurrence, basically. And that's like right up the block from the precinct. So they, a lot of times they don't have any, I mean, this is going into other stuff that would take forever to talk about, like the laws and how quickly people get out and released,
Right.
and punishment for the crime, that type of stuff. Also, there's a lot of things that are changing, the transparency thing with everything being public. It's good for the general public that's not looking to cause any harm, but it's bad in the sense that now a lot of people who are looking to commit crimes can basically Google everything about what the police department is doing and what the plan is, and how, if the more you know about what the police department is doing, the easier it is to evade us. Right.
I actually got a follow-up to what you just said, because I think it's relevant to this too. So down by 231st Street and Broadway, there's a Walgreens in there by the corner. You know where the Walgreens is, right? By the pizza place. So over the last year, I've been in there and I've seen uniformed police officers in there. And I actually talked to one of them, a female officer, and another guy too. And I don't know if I got this wrong, but it almost appeared that they were not on the NYPD payroll. They were kind of moonlighting, doing overtime. I didn't even know that was legal. I hope I'm not blowing up their spot if that's the case. But I don't, my point is having a uniformed police officer. I don't know whether that's really an option in some of these stores, but it's going to deter. I would think it would deter 4 guys from running in with ski masks, trying to rip the place off. But then we have, like I said, I've seen uniformed officers in a couple of retail stores like that, but then obviously most of them don't have it. So I don't know what the protocol is for that. What the officer told me didn't seem to make much sense, because I don't know how you can be in uniform and not working or working. I don't know how that works. Maybe you can.
So that's basically a paid detail. So basically what that is, they're still representing the NYPD, but the company is paying for the NYPD to be there. So that's what that is. So I guess they have a contract with the city, and I'm assuming any commercial establishment can do it. I don't know the ins and outs of it because I don't do it personally, but on our end, we sign up for stuff like that. So we get a list of locations that are available for paid detail, and we sign up. And for us, it's an overtime work.
Do you think most businesses are aware of this? Because I welcome discussions like this at our meetings, but I'm more into getting results. So I'd like something to come out of this conversation that we could possibly pass on to our merchants, because I'm thinking that most merchants are not even aware that the NYPD will provide this service for a price, so to speak, and it may be worth it to them. It may be worth them. It may be the difference between them staying in business and going out of business if they could hire. And I'm sure the cops would love to have a few extra dollars overtime in their pocket if it was available, and it might be helpful to all parties involved and the safety of the customers, because these clerks are traumatized, from what I understand, for that store. So we don't want to see repeat stuff like this happening in our neighborhoods. And I'm going to mention this to Nick, our economic development chair, because I would doubt that most businesses are even aware that they have this option, because I don't see uniformed police officers in too many stores, but I do see them in a few. I don't know what the price tag is, but maybe that has something to do with it, but I don't know.
I don't know their side of it. So yeah, I could look into it and see what I can find and send you the info. I'm pretty sure it's public information if you Google it. So, but I'm gonna do the same and, you know, ask around and
If
see
you
what I
can
can.
remember to do that, I'd appreciate that because that's something, some tangible results we could get done to pass on. And like I said, I would bet anything that most or a large amount of merchants are not even aware that they have the option of doing that. And we've seen businesses go out of business just because their products are, you know, people are stealing the products off the shelves and they're not making a profit. David, you have your hand up.
Yes, that's been in place for years. The TD Bank at 230 and Tibbet had an armed NYPD there for years. And yes, I think that it's a detail that's paid for. I'll bet you it's a good $40 or $50 an hour that the business pays for. And I'll bet you Catherine Barnard at the Kingsbridge bid is aware of this, and Nick could probably find out from her.
Okay, we'll look into it for sure. Okay, does anybody else have any comments or questions on organized retail crime? And that's something we're going to keep our eyes on in the future. Hopefully that doesn't become a trend. Okay, so with that, there's nothing left on the agenda. So do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move.
Now, do we have a second?
You got a second.
Okay, so with that, the meeting is adjourned. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We went a little long tonight, but we had a lot to cover. And I thank everybody for coming out and have a blessed evening. And Bob, we'll definitely talk about what you discussed and hopefully we can have a conversation about that and a couple other things also. So thanks for everybody for coming.
Greg Galera, thanks for coming out.
Take care.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Take care.